Well, today we have Jan Ryan. Jan, thanks for being here.
Thank you for asking me.
You're welcome. You are here in Austin, in the capital of entrepreneurship. Tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Well, I actually came to Austin in '97, back in the Wild West days of the internet. In fact, we were actually calling it the World Wide Web with a straight face in those days. But I came for Vignette, and I was the first VP of sales for Vignette. Came out of Dallas. Had prior to that been in Dallas for 16 years. So I came and have never left. Austin was absolutely perfect for me because we were so early in what we were doing inside of young companies for the internet. And of course, Vignette, we didn't realize it at the time, but we were about to do our IPO within less than 17 months of when I came on board, and it was during the bubble. So we had a blast growing that company.
Exciting times.
It was exciting, but it was also something very unproven. We, in those days, didn't really know what the internet was. We were doing content management for broad, large companies, and we created that on the fly. A lot of us were old client-server guys, knew nothing about the internet. I went out and hired a guy with an eyebrow ring and purple hair, and really brought some great color into the company, but also helped us understand what it was that people were doing when they were trying to, as a large enterprise, launch their web presence.
Well, you've gone on to do other entrepreneurial things as CEO of some companies. Would you like to tell us about that?
Yeah, I've been entrepreneurial for my whole life, Laura, and I don't think I knew what to call it. In those days, I just knew even early in my career, I just like to build things. I like to start things from scratch and see them through to something that actually brings value. But it wasn't until really after Vignette that I began to work a lot more as a CEO with venture capital to build new properties. I was a CEO of a company in Menlo Park called Sigma Dynamics, and we did predictive analytics, and we sold that company to Oracle, and that was in 2006. So I had moved out there for that opportunity and lived a couple of years back and forth to San Francisco and Austin. So when I came back in 2006, I was absolutely committed that I would stay in Austin, not get on a plane to go to headquarters somewhere else, and invest in Austin. I became, I think, infected with the new social opportunities for social technologies, and long before most people thought that they were anything but just a Facebook page for teenagers.
And that indeed turned into another startup, correct?
It did. I was my background is large enterprises. So what was, and this is typical for entrepreneurs, you get your mind around some gap that is there, and you want to somehow find a solution for it. And the big gap that I saw in those days for social was that there was really, for large enterprises, this tsunami wave coming of thousands of mentions of their brand, but no way to really understand how to respond to those mentions or which ones were even relevant. In those days, the large companies were actually almost ignoring social. They felt like social was a fad. So I was beginning at that time in 07, 08 to really build out the first social customer care platform in my mind. What would that take for large enterprises when that time came, when the switch was flipped, when it really meant that large enterprises were suddenly deluged with mentions of their brand. What does that mean for them in terms of technology to process it?
And was that company venture funded?
The name of the company was Social Dynamics, and we raised about $3 million in seed funding, actually. Most of that was raised through angels and different angel organizations, honestly, out of the West Coast. We did have some angels here in Austin that also funded the company.
That's great.
But we were acquired in the fall of last year and never got to the Series A because it was such the timing on this was so right for us to merge with the company that acquired us, Lithium Technologies. So we did not go ahead and do the Series A.
Right. Fabulous, though. Fabulous. You have gone on to be a civic entrepreneur, I would say. I happen to know that you've recently led the charge on a group called Women at Austin,
Women at Austin,
which is women CEOs, and the whole issue around women raising funding for their companies. Tell us more about that.
Well, Women at Austin is a give back for me. It's a passion that has been growing for the last 2 or 3 years, where I've really begun to understand that most women don't really have the wider circle of influence because entrepreneurial activities for women is just a new phenomena. And so what happens is that there are 3 areas that sometimes women struggle with. One of them is just having the right mentors and role models. So seeing images of someone who, just like them, actually went forward and had the courage to launch a company helps that woman also have the courage to do that. So mentorship and role models was one big area. Another area is just visibility. You know, so often, specifically in Austin even, you don't see women in the news enough. There are so many terrific women that have great ideas, and I meet them weekly, but you don't see a lot about what they're doing. Sometimes they're hidden and they're working in a silo. So visibility, and the third is just access to capital. You know, new sources of capital. The numbers are pretty dismal and have been dismal around venture. You know, 4 to 4.5% of venture, goes to women-led companies. But the tide is changing. So, Laura, what I decided to do is bring together a group of successful women that have had exits in Austin last fall. Those that had either started a company or had potentially exited or were involved in funding companies. And we built and envisioned something called Women at Austin, Women at Austin. And what this initiative, this movement is the ability to bring to Austin, the ability to be the most supportive, the most accessible city in the nation for women entrepreneurs. So all of those things I just mentioned, we're bringing some attention to. And you know as well as I do, when smart women, huddle around an issue, good things happen. So
absolutely, but it always takes someone to get that going.
Well, and apparently we've hit a nerve, because we actually did our official launch about 3 weeks ago. And the event sold out in 5 days. We had something like 72 people on the waiting list. We had 130 women in the room. And we're not just focused on women. This is an economic issue. It's not just a woman issue. We're focused on helping women get exposure and helping them get more visibility and mentoring around their deals. But many men are also interested, and I can't tell you how many men have reached out to me and wanted to be involved because, for one thing, they have daughters, many of them. They want to see their daughters have that opportunity. And I think in general, Austin just realizes it's time. It's time for women to really be more successful, for us to have a lot more exits and visibility as women entrepreneurs.
That's phenomenal. So, Jan, leave us with a word of wisdom of what you think a key trait for an entrepreneur is. What does an entrepreneur need to be one, so to speak?
I think an entrepreneur really needs to follow their passion. There's no other way to do the hard work that's necessary to really launch a company without that just burning passion that you're working 7 days a week. You are so ready to get out of bed and really solve this puzzle and bring value to the market. And I think that without that passion, it would be a hard road to hoe. but most of the men and women that I see that are entrepreneurs are people filled with a lot of joy. And there are high moments, there's low moments. But if this is for you, this environment is for you, it's a fun ride. And I just encourage anyone that feels that tug or understands that they have something that they want to really explore, to just do it. Just do it. And this community, this ecosystem is a supportive one. I think it's just a lot of fun.
Jan Ryan, Austin, Texas, Women at Austin, and with great passion for entrepreneurs going forward. Thank you, Jan.
Thanks, Laura.